Dude, you know my biggest pet peeve is when
What is going on, you beautiful ladies and gentlemen?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bonji Bros. We are going to be talking about short-term versus long-term goals and how to set goals for your business. Because without goals, where's your business going to go? We're going to do this by debating I'll be taking long-term goals. Danny's going to be taking short-term goals, and I'm ready to demolish them and put them into the dirt.
idiot. He has no idea what's coming. And before we get started, I think the biggest difference really versus short term versus long term is, long term's kind of lofty, dream-like ideas for your business and for yourself. These could be applied to your personal life. Short-term goals is really effort-based, right? So if you want to double your business, that's a long-term dream-like goal. But the short-term goal would be more like, what do you have to do every single day to grow constantly and consistently?
I agree. Short-term goals are definitely very important, especially in like everyday basis. That's going to be what's keeping your business alive, really. But the long-term goals is the thing that is really allowing you to keep that vision, to realize, okay, I'm doing all these short-term goals, but I'm not getting to the point where I need to be to reach my long-term goals. To, if you want to have a business that's doing $10 million a year, and you're doing all the short-term goals that you possibly can, if you have that 5-year goal, like if those short-term goals aren't working out for you, then you need that long-term goal to be in your mind that, wow, I'm doing everything I can with my short-term objectives, and my long-term goal is not getting there. Obviously something's wrong.
I'll just say this: long-term goals are bullshit. I mean, really. Like, what are you doing today? So many people just waste their lives away thinking about the long-term goals and never take one step forward. They're thinking millions of steps forward. They don't take one step. I mean, how many people do you know at home that have said, I started a business. They post 3 times on Instagram, and you never see them post again for years. I mean, long-term goals are flat out bullshit.
I think when you think about the short-term goal versus long-term goal, if you're committed to being in business, you end up having 5 employees that depend on you to get their paycheck and have a life off of that. Then at that point it's not the person that has a marketing thing where it's just them and they say like, oh, I made $500,000 last year. I'm saying if you're in an actual business, doing something that requires work, you have a loyal customer base that's coming back again and again. Those short-term goals are obviously very important, but the long-term goals is what's going to be allowing you to be like, okay, are these short-term? Am I using my energy? Because the short-term goals are the things that are using your energy. If you don't have that long-term goal, you could be using your energy you could be spending 10 times. You could be digging a ditch one way, and then you realize, oh shoot, I was digging the ditch completely wrong, and then you have to go dig another ditch. Without that foresight of being like, am I climbing to that long-term goal? If you don't have that long-term goal, you could be constantly spinning around in a circle with those short-term objectives that aren't allowing you to climb up.
I mean, you don't need a long-term goal to tell whether you're on track or not, right? If you're trying to grow your business, grow your sales, did you make 10 calls today? Did you make 50, 100 calls today? How many people were interested? At the end of the day, you should be auditing yourself. If no one's interested, you have to change the direction, change the pitch, or change something so you have a little bit more success the next day. But that has nothing to do with the long-term goal. If you watch Hard Knocks this past year with the Lions and Motor City Dan Campbell, he quoted a song I never heard of. I freaking loved it. He said, Brian's talking about the light at the tunnel, the pie in the sky. So the lyric goes, if you see the light at the tunnel, it's just a freight train coming your way. And so honestly, these long-term pie in the sky things, it just gets people sidetracked. And those people that are too obsessed with the long-term goals, they're going to fail, and very quickly, because they're not doing anything practical. Short-term is based in reality and practicality. Don't get me wrong. I want to have the biggest business. I want to be the next, Haagen-Dazs of acai. But I rarely think about that. I think about what do we need to do today to touch someone else, to improve another business's, and provide greater service to our customers. I'm not thinking about, these lofty goals.
The one thing about long-term goals that I think you have no counterpoint to is that it acts this sense of urgency that if you don't have the sense of urgency, then you're not going to be doing your short-term goals as well. And you need that sense of urgency to be like, okay, if you want to grow your business, you need a long-term goal, because these short-term goals, you can be like, I just want to make my customers happy. And you have 10 customers, and maybe one customer floats in somehow, and you're like, let's make the 11th customer happy. Okay, how do I get these 10 customers are so happy with it? Now I know that this works. My long-term goal is to be able to go out and get 250 customers by the end of the year.
My short-term goals is I need to add a customer today, right? I need to add a customer today. Why? Well, we haven't added a customer. I'm not falling asleep easily tonight because we didn't add a customer today, right?
Yeah.
Believe me, I have enough panic and a fire under my ass. I'm worried about today. I'm worried about growing today.
You're different than like someone that's just starting their own business, and we're 3 years in, so you kind of get used to this and everything. So for someone that's just starting, how do we, with a short-term goal and the long-term goal, there's obviously pros to having both. You need that long-term goal to have that vision. You need the short-term goal to make sure that you
let us know who's winning right now. I think I'm winning. I don't even know if you scored a point.
I wrote the entire outline, by the way, guys, and I let him pick it. So I'm trying to facilitate it and also argue my point. He's trying to.
I had 3 minutes to prepare, and I'm still dominating. He wrote this whole thing. I'm absolutely dominating.
So obviously both of them have their pros, and they have their reasons for why you need them in order to grow and have a successful business. But let's talk about the cons. You could take the long-term con, and I could take the short-term con, whatever you want to do. I don't care. We could say if you are singularly focused on one or the other, what could be the con that you run into? What could be the downfall for your business if you only are focused on the long-term or you're only focused on the short-term?
Dude, my biggest pet peeve is when all these people are like, I like doing vision for a business. I like doing strategy for a business. My strategy is to figure out how to survive. My strategy is how to figure out how to get another customer. So the con, aka the con men out there, telling you focus on all these grandiose ideas, have no idea what it takes. They have no team to run. They don't have payroll at the end of the week to cover. The con for the long-term goal is all around these schemers that talk about these grandiose ideas. The con, and that's exactly what the benefit of focusing on short-term. What can I do today to improve tomorrow? What can I do this week to improve next week? What can I do this week to improve next month? And that short-term trickles down into having a long-term effect. But it's all about the short term.
I think the short terms, the con to the short term is that you do need in the degree to have a long term vision. I think that's what any entrepreneur has.
What is this, Fly Central?
Jeff Bezos started Amazon as a book company, and he had that long term vision to be like, I'm using books to be my catalyst to be able to push me into every other market there is. Now, Amazon literally does every single thing. They own Whole Foods. They do, delivery. They have their own products. Like, it's crazy. But they started off with books. If Jeff Bezos was, there's probably a Jeff Bezos out there that was like, I'm just going to be the best online book seller.
Yeah, but I would argue though, I agree with you. He used books to segue and transition into running just the largest digital marketplace, but he focused on the short term. He was like, I got to win this before I could even play around with anything else on the digital marketplace. So he obsessed on books, and he dominated the books. he smoked Barnes and Noble and any other bookstore because he dominated the online books. And once he dominated, once it was clear he established himself in the book space, then he transitioned to the next objective. But he wasn't like he wasn't obsessed with the long term, right?
I think he was obsessed with the long term.
I think he reverse engineered it, right? So he said, "What's the long term goal?" He might, and we don't know this, but he could have said, "What's the long term goal? I want to be the biggest marketplace in the world online." Okay, what's the easiest way to get into that? Okay, well, books. There's very little shipping fees. They're lightweight. It's easy to ship. I'm going to get into books first. You got to dominate 1 million before you can go to 10, 50, 100 million, which he did, right?
Yeah. I think he was...
So I agree. The only benefit, I think, for setting goals and thinking about long-term goals is reverse engineering to the very minute detail. What's the first thing I have to do? What's the second thing I have to do? I have to dominate those things, right? Because if you rush that, which he didn't, he spent years on the books, right? Solely books. Then he transferred to Kindle. He dominated that. And if you don't, it's like having it's like building a house with no framework, with no foundation.
I don't know, I should probably know a little bit more about Jeff Bezos before bringing him up, but I'm sure that his short-term goal was, I'm going to have the biggest reach I could possibly have, and he probably was like, look, I don't really care that much about profit right now because I know that if I have this big reach and I have this, I could set up distribution and I could use that as a tool. Profit doesn't matter as much to me as getting my brand out there, getting people to hear about it, have that, reputation of being the go-to guy for books, and that he used that reputation to be like, okay, how, now I'm in books, how do I get to, product, whatever the second product he got to, or the third product. It's important with short-term goals too, is that, you have to be able to choose your short-term goals. You could go down the wrong path by being like, how do I make the most profit this month? And if you have that short-term goal of that's a huge con that even add on to my amazing outline. But that's a huge con to short-term goals. A long-term goal shouldn't be that specific. It shouldn't be like, I need to sell this amount of this to get to that. It's like a long-term goal should be like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get to this point in a year. Short-term goals have to be very exact, and if you have the wrong short-term goal for how to catapult your business and how to grow it and become a giant success, you have to have very you have to have smart short-term goals in order to get that to succeed. You can go down the wrong path by saying I want to be profitable, and then
Right. You are right about that. That's the one benefit of creating a plan, long-term in mind, is that you don't take the shortcuts for easy profit, which ultimately derails you from going, really deep into one segment.
I know Steve Jobs. He had three things that said that was like why three things that he heard when he was like 25 years old. He attributed in his autobiography, his book. He said, I forget the other two, but the one that really stuck with me was throw away all the distractions out there. You could be making some money. Like he could have been making mouses or something like that, and that could have got him an extra $2 million at the time. So overall, I think I probably won this. Do you have any other point that you want to get in?
Vote in the comments because I think I smoked them.
But obviously, both long-term and short-term goals are extremely important for your business. If you don't have one, then you're not going to have the vision. If you don't have long-term, you're not going to have the vision. If you don't have short-term, you're not going to have that constant success to that constant work ethic to get to those long-term goals. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a stellar day. I hope you learned something.
What is going on, you beautiful ladies and gentlemen? Breakfast in under 30 seconds. Delicious.